Episode 7 of Wheel of Time Season 3 took on the Battle of the Two Rivers, and while this wasn't my favorite episode of the season, you can check out my Episode 7 review for more of my thoughts on the episode. There is still a ton to break down in the episode. There was a ton packed into the 55 minutes of runtime, so let's take a look at it. Today I'll run through the episode scene by scene, and we'll break each of them down, how they're similar or how they differ from the books, and I'll fill in some of the lore behind the things that happen in the episode. However, before we jump into the video, if you don't mind, take a moment and like the video, as it helps YouTube share this content with other people. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy Wheel of Time content. That is all I make here on the channel. I have tons of Wheel of Time lore content on the channel. That's all I've been doing for the past 6.5 years. Crazy it's been that long now. However, also, since we're talking about the Battle of the Two Rivers, check out this video I did in collaboration with Lauren from Unraveling the Pattern a few years back, breaking down the entire battle that happens in the books. It'll give you a great idea of what's going on in the episode and in the books. I've linked it here at the end of the video as well. But let's dive into this opening shot. And we open with this epic zoom in on the two rivers preparing for battle. You can see the village has built defenses to help protect itself. Now there's presumably been some type of time jump of sorts, because the last time we saw the village, it didn't have any of this. This is, though, very similar to what happens in the books, although it happens a bit more over time and while Perrin is gone. So he sends denizens of the Two Rivers back to the village while he's on his way to rescue the captives in the book. There, with the direction of Fail and Tam al'Thor, they build the fortifications. Speaking of Tam, it's a shame they couldn't get him back for this season. In the context of the show, it's explained that Tom, Abel, and Bran took off with Perrin's family as the Whitecloaks were after them, and that's why they're missing from the battle. Regardless of the reasons, it's too bad we don't see Tam al'Thor kicking some ass in this episode. I believe there was some type of scheduling conflict with Michael Mickelhatton, who plays Tam, which is why he's not here, but that's quite unfortunate. Here we see the Tinkers arriving along with the other villagers after an apparent Trolloc attack. I would have liked to have seen that attack as a cold open to this episode, as the actual devastation caused by the Trollocs and seeing the Tinkers scattered would have set the stakes for the episode, but I am finally glad that we got the Tinkers back. As episode 4 explained so well, the Tinkers are a long-lost offshoot of the Aiel from the Age of Legends. They are those who kept to the way of the Leaf, but instead of obeying the Aes Sedai to take their things, left in search of their songs of growing and their life of peace again. Despite all of this, the current Tinkers don't even know what the song is or why they search for it, other than that they do so by tradition. They often wander the world in their wagons, searching for a place of peace. Most villagers in towns won't accept them, as they're known to entice others into the way of the Leaf and running away with them, which is exactly why it's so strange that they would now show up for protection in the Two Rivers, as this shows the level of desperation they've reached, that they're actually asking for help in a town. Here in this scene, we hear Isla mention a line,
"We bury our dead, and we go on. What else is there?"
"We bury our dead and we go on. What else is there?" Now, this is a direct quote from episode 4, and it's a great callback to the Aiel and the heritage of the Tinkers. When we hear Aram give some pushback on the way of the Leaf here, he sounds very much like the ancestors of the Aiel. And obviously this foreshadows his breaking with the way of the Leaf at the end of the episode. Another thing that is obvious in this scene is the love that Perrin has for the Tinkers. One of the themes these past seasons has been that of war and peace, and Perrin's hatred of violence, despite the necessity of it. This is an arc that Perrin shares with the books, as he debates between the axe and the hammer, choosing a tool made for killing and a tool made to kill and build. It's just a great theme from the books that I think they've brought into the show, and you can see that in Perrin's love for the Tinkers. Here we have this scene of Alanna training the girls to channel and being watched by Daysconger. While I don't love how quickly the girls learn, again, think back to how slowly Egwene seemed to learn in season 1, I also understand the need to speed up some elements of the plot. Making Daysconger a channeler in the show also isn't really a big deal. While she isn't a channeler in the books, I think making another of the women that we know from the Two Rivers a channeler shows the old blood is strong, shows what Alanna has been saying, and that she was right to come here. Here we see the Wolfhead banner being raised in the Two Rivers and people gawking at it. This banner serves as Perrin's personal banner in both the books and I guess now the show. While it largely stems from his golden eyes like a wolf's, which we see in the show as well, In the books, the wolf head also signifies his connection to the wolves and how they aid him in battle. The banner is also used in the books to inspire Perrin's followers, despite him not liking it, and despite him not liking being seen as a lord or as a leader. Here we get Perrin and Dane Bornhold meeting at the mountain pass, and Perrin is asking him to come to the Two Rivers and help in the defense. While this isn't exactly how it plays out in the books, it is similar. There's a high level of mistrust in the books between these two, and for most of the same reasons. Although, in the books, Perrin didn't actually kill Jeffrey Bornhold, he was just present when he died. One thing that is odd here is how little anger Perrin has after his best friend's mother was burned alive. Perrin being committed to the greater good is something that he's always done, so in one way that's consistent with his character, but it is odd in this specific case that he's being somewhat forgiving of the guy who burned his best friend's mom alive. Here we get a scene of Loyal and Bane and Chiad in the Winespring Inn, and Loyal is making some notes in his book. Now, Loyal has always served as a great source of exposition in both the show and in the books, so I think that this is one area where his character will be missed going forward if the show doesn't get more seasons. Loyal is exposition and is able to explain a lot of the things to the viewer about what's happening. Now, what Loyal is talking about here is the final king of Manetheren, and this is the story that Moiraine tells in episode 2 of season 1, and it's the source of the song that the Two Rivers people sing about Manetheren that we'll hear later, and that we heard in season 1. For more information on Manetheren and the battle that was fought at the site of the village, check out this video here on the story of Manetheren. But here we get this scene of Perrin and Fail talking, and Perrin talking about the burden of leadership and how the responsibility of it is something that he didn't ask for, and he feels the pain of every death or everybody he may lead to their death. Now, this is a great conversation, and one that I wish they had set up more with Perrin's rise to leadership being about doing things that others wouldn't do. Perrin never wanted to be a leader. He just saw things that needed done and did them, and that inspired others to do the same. This conversation that he and Fael are having is essentially straight from the books, if not word for word, at least in theme. In the books, this mostly comes after Perrin led some raiding parties against Trolloc camps and sent villagers from their farms back to the village. His party was ambushed and he lost some people, showing his first real defeat. That defeat is why he started to question himself. He felt responsible for their deaths and he didn't want that responsibility. I wish we had that kind of setup and time given to this plotline, as I think this scene would have been a lot more powerful. Perrin also tries to send Fael away in this scene, exactly as he does in the books. However, unlike the books, she doesn't leave, but she stays to fight. In the book, she really doesn't leave either, but she gathers up others from other villages and they trap the Trollocs in a pincer movement and end up winning the battle due to her efforts. I wish we had gotten that actually, as I think it would have made much more sense than the Padan Fain calling them off and the deal with him that we got at the end, but there's likely a reason they didn't do this that we don't know about. Here we jump to the mountain pass where they're making their stand against the Trollocs. We have a callback to the Song of Manetheren that Matt started in season 1 that prompted Moiraine to tell the story of Manetheren.
We walk the footsteps of our fathers, trail blessed by our mothers. They bought the land with their blood long ago. Long ago. Oh, sing on Manetheren. Oh, weep for the Clayman. Oh, cry for Manetheren. Long ago.
Now, this is a very poignant scene, and it shows the united villagers. The song's badass. Again, Lorne Balfe is amazing. And one thing I wish that they did was they kept singing it over top of the Trollocs screaming. I think that would have been a bit more badass if they sang over top of the yells, not afraid of the oncoming Trollocs because of Perrin's leadership. Now, one thing to note that is missing is Myrddraal. In seasons 1 and 2, we saw fades used with Trollocs, and my assumption is that that is related to CGI budget. It's curious, though, that we don't see any fades leading the battle, or at least fighting in the battle. When they have made other cuts due to changes or a need for change in the budget, they have typically explained away the problem in the show, like with Tam and Abel and Bran. It's fairly odd that we don't get a mention, though, of fades even existing other than Tom in Tanchico. Here we see Alana using the One Power to call down an ice storm on the oncoming Trollocs and Dark Friends. It's a very cool use of the power, and you can see she's linked with the girls and with Daze Conger. What I think is cool is that they're making creative use of the Warder Bond here, with Maxim helping her target her weaves. Here at the Waygate, we see this random Dark Friend ask for reinforcements, and I wish they would have just asked about what time they were going to arrive, instead of asking for more and her going over to the Waygate like she's going to yell into it, come on out? Are the Trollocs just chilling inside the ways? It would have made more sense to have them already be on their way. Here we get Alana showing us how Aes Sedai have learned the art of being a pincushion for arrows and still surviving. If only she had taught that skill to Daze Conger. Rest in peace, Daze Conger. I'll pour one out for you. Before we continue though, I want to thank the video sponsor, NordVPN. NordVPN is the #1 VPN service in the world, and they have been a sponsor of mine for some time. What is a VPN, you might ask, Nae'Blis? Well, a VPN protects your browsing history from being seen by your internet provider, and it protects your activity online. It's recommended anytime you're traveling to prevent others from accessing sensitive data, but it's really a good idea to have anyway. Also, a VPN allows you to appear as though you are from another country and bypass geo-locked content, meaning you can watch Netflix or Amazon Prime in another country, as these services allow different shows in different places in different countries. Yeah, everyone should have a VPN, and what's great about NordVPN is that it's already fairly cheap to get something that you should have anyway. What's even better is that it's even cheaper for my viewers. Click the link in the description of the video and give NordVPN a try. By using the link, you'll not only get a massive discount on the service, but you'll also help support the channel as well. Thank you, NordVPN, and let's get back to the video. Here we jump to Loial trying to close the Waygate. And in the books, closing the Waygate is as simple as removing the key, and it'll prevent it from opening. As they needed a heroic sacrifice, it appears that it is going to be different in the show, and it appears that the Waygate needs to be destroyed from the inside to close it permanently, which is why Loial is hitting it with his hammer. Now, I think that although I mentioned I didn't like this death, it is amazing to see Loial go out with a sacrifice to save his friends, and hearing his words at the end of the episode, and knowing that he knew that this is what his fate would be, really adds to the tragedy of his death. Here, during the battle at the village, we see Podon Fain's Whitecloaks show their true allegiance and turn on Dane Bornhold's Whitecloak. This is both similar to the books and different. At this point, Fain and his Whitecloaks had already disappeared, and Bornhold's troops had entered the village but did not help in the defense. Obviously, here they are fighting for their own lives as well, and Dane even mentions to Perrin that he didn't know about Fain. Here we see Aemon Valda during the battle seeking out channelers to the last. You almost have to respect the crazy-ass devotion that he has to finding channelers, despite everybody dying around him. Of course, once he does find them, we get a great scene of justified revenge and seeing someone finally get what was coming to him. Obviously, this version of Aemon Valda is very, very different from the book version of the character, but nevertheless, it is quite cathartic to see him burn after what he has done the first couple seasons. One question, though, is that again, it appears that a man who can't channel can see weaves. It's curious how he seems to react to the girls channeling as they begin to, almost implying that he had some type of terangrial maybe that allowed him to sense it. Here we see a badass scene of Perrin going somewhat berserker and killing Trollocs and Dark Friends alike, with Fael picking up the pieces behind him. His target ends up being Podon Fain, and after quickly dispatching his bodyguards and realizing that the town is about to be overrun, Perrin allows Fain to live if he calls off the attack. One thing to notice here is that Perrin says he can smell Fain's fear. This is something that hasn't really been explored in the show, but in the books, Perrin's enhanced senses allow him to essentially smell the emotions of other people. He can smell jealousy and when people are lying, fear, obviously, and other things. I do wish we had gotten, though, the ending from the books, not simply because it's from the books, but because I think it would have tied things off better than the deal with the shadow that Perrin makes here. In the books, Fael arrives with reinforcements from the other towns. They destroy the Trollocs in between the walls and the town, and very few escape. I think they could have had Fain escape and still allow this to be a victory for Perrin's forces rather than a retreat. Because thematically, nothing is stopping the Trollocs and Fain from just attacking again as soon as Fain is safe. He's not honor-bound to follow his word. It's the main reason I don't like a deal with the Shadow. Anyways, here we get Perrin choosing to go with the Whitecloaks, which is completely not what happens in the books, so this is a major change. In the books, Perrin says he'll go with them if they help in the battle, but they do not, so he refuses to go with them. In the show so far, I'm not sure why the Whitecloaks are getting a pass at this point for burning Natty Cawthon alive. Perrin shouldn't be going with them. They should be arresting the Whitecloak. But alas, I wonder if they're setting up a later plot line of Perrin's here. I'm going to leave that very vague to prevent spoilers, but those that know will know what I'm referring to. Anyways, that is my breakdown of episode 7 titled Goldeneyes. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments of the video. Also, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel to be updated when I release new Wheel of Time content. Also, make sure to check out NordVPN. Huge thank you to my patrons for your support. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the link in the description of the video. Lastly, if you like this video, you are probably going to like one of these here as well. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace out.